Lagos wakes up every day without asking who came before. People step out of their homes, shops open, life moves forward. Most of the time, nobody's thinking about history. And yet, some lives remain present in the places we pass through, even when we do not notice them. Herbert Macaulay is one of those lives. Not because his name is everywhere, but because many of the questions he asked are still being asked today. Herbert Macaulay was born in Lagos in 1864. He came from a family already shaped by history. His mother, Abigail Crowder, was the daughter of Bishop Samuel Ajayi Crowder, the first African Anglican bishop, and one of the most influential African intellectual figures of the 19th century. That meant Macaulay grew up close to education, religion, and authority. Books were familiar. Institutions were not distant. The language of power was something he learned early. But growing up in that world also meant seeing its limits. He watched how respect was given and how easily it could be withheld. He learned that position did not always protect you, especially under colonial rule. This background did not make him obedient. It made him observant. School opened his mind, but it also revealed boundaries. He saw that intelligence did not guarantee equality, that effort did not always lead to fairness. Even among the educated, Africans were expected to accept decisions made elsewhere by people they would never meet. This awareness did not arrive all at once. It grew slowly through experience. As a young man, Macaulay traveled to England to study civil engineering. It was a long journey, and it changed him. In Britain, he encountered the empire at its center. He saw its confidence, its certainty, and its belief in its own authority. He also felt the distance between what the empire claimed to stand for and how it treated people like him. When he returned home, he carried that understanding with him. Macaulay returned to Lagos, trained and qualified. He worked briefly within the colonial system. But respect did not follow credentials. Opportunities remained limited. Progress was controlled. Eventually, he left government service and began working independently as a surveyor and an engineer. That decision marked a shift. He was no longer trying to fit neatly into the system. He was beginning to look at it more closely. Much of his work involved land, boundaries, ownership, disputes. He heard families challenge colonial policies that threatened their homes and livelihoods. These were not dramatic moments. They were slow, detailed, and often exhausting. But they mattered. Land was not just property. It was memory, survival, and identity. Macaulay understood that. Over time, he became more outspoken. He returned to writing. Through the Lagos Daily News, he questioned colonial authority and criticized unfair policies. He wrote about issues that affected everyday life, taxes, land, governance, and power. His words were not always gentle, but they were clear. Writing became a way of insisting that these issues be acknowledged. The colonial government noticed him. He was watched, harassed, arrested. There were court cases. There was detention. There was pressure to be silent. Macaulay was not without flaws. It could be difficult. Some disagree with his methods, but he continued to speak. Gradually, people began to see him as someone who understood their frustrations, not as a perfect leader, but as someone willing to stand in public disagreement with authority. He became involved in organized politics. Groups formed, meetings happened, new voices emerged. Macaulay did not lead every movement, but he helped shape the space where those movements coexist. Sometimes that's enough. In his later years, he became a symbol of resistance to colonial rule. Younger activists carried the struggle forward. The idea of self-governance began to feel possible, even if it was still distant. Macaulay remained present, engaged, and opinionated until the end of his life. Herbert Macaulay died in 1946. Nigeria was not yet independent, but many understood that something important had been set in motion. He had challenged authority. He had insisted on voice. He had made space for disagreement. Today, life continues. People move through the city without stopping to think about Herbert Macaulay. And that may be exactly where his legacy lives. In the belief that power can be questioned, in the understanding that ordinary people matter, in the quiet decision to speak, even when it is inconvenient. Herbert Macaulay did not live to see independence, but the road towards it was shaped, in part, by the life he lived here.